Quick change of scenery. So back to the wallpaper. As I was saying, the wallpaper, it just didn't work the way I would want it to. Obviously, it's designed to fill a wall and the space and the largeness of the patterns, and it's consistent. It's not supposed to be mixed together, which is why it didn't work, and which is why I didn't think it fitted my project. So like I said, the patterns were good to use and they did look nice once covered in paint, but they just didn't feel right just using the patterns and looking into the emotions as it's tested out the way it looks rather than the raw emotion like you would see in a drawing. So I feel this project has gone well. The processes that I feel like I've had to make when I feel like I've had to make big decisions was probably more when I was making and designing what I was going to do with the marks. So the marks were easy to come across. The secondary research helped with that, and the fact that I was able to gather information off other people and what they were thinking helped with that. It was using the marks and highlighting the marks and using the marks to their full advantage rather than just looking at them and having them based around one thing. So I feel not the trickiest, but the most thinking and working around was probably when coming up with a concept to use the marks with. So I drew up designs here and everything, and the designs themselves could be used. I like the idea and I like the concept. I just feel like the designs and the movement just didn't enhance what I was going for, which was the messier look, the raw emotion, the anger, the marks, and having them boxed in frames just wouldn't work. And then once walking down the street in Newcastle, I saw the design and I saw that people had just walked past, and they've obviously glanced and they've taken it in. It was a chance they could have taken in information. This is visual merchandising, so it is just to look pretty and to draw customers in, but it is a way of using the space and a way that could enhance the stigma around mental health. With the visual merchandising. If I was to do this project again and knew what I already knew, so knew that the project was going into visual merchandising or a shop window or a store window, I would want to focus more around the store window, because I feel that yes, I had a chance to look at different marks and specifically look at what marks mean, what emotions and what different ways people associate anger and depression, and looked into the mental illnesses. I feel like if I was to do this project again, I would start off with the shop window and then go on from there and look into the different emotions, just because I feel like the base was made and the solid foundation was made in the first book, looking at the marks, but then the visual merchandising just came in, and there was so many more different avenues that I could have tested and tried before selecting the final design and the final thing that I could do. Obviously, that's my timekeeping. Well, not really timekeeping, that's my scheduling and timetabling, as I selected this amount of time and I have done the amount of research and I am happy with the end result. I would just focus on the shop window and make sure all aspects are accounted for. So the size of the window, where it would go, who would view it, like would it match the store itself, because obviously it's a mental health, it could go in a charity shop, but people wouldn't view it as often. In a high-end store, it'd have to be a high-end product, but it would also have to get across the marks and the messiness and the distress from the mental health issue. But from this project, I've learned that timetabling is very important, as it gives you something to do. It gives you something to look at and think, I need to do that, and I need to do it pretty soon to give me enough time to then move on to the next stage. I also feel like research, the amount of research I've done in this project is crazy, but it's the solid foundation. Everything is backed up and everything is accounted for, so it's not just jumping from one place to the other. I've looked at everything and it all links, which I feel like it makes my head solid. When I think of an idea, it's, oh yeah, that links to that because that links to that. And the emotions and the research, the secondary research that backs everything up, because it involves other people, which isn't making my project one-sided. It's involving everyone else, and it's not just me that's looking at it, it's everyone that's looking at it because they're involved with it, because mental health is everywhere and everyone could suffer from mental health. So I feel like I've done a good job detailing and researching, and I have represented the mental health issue that I chose well. Even if the where is it at? So even though with my final piece, when it was constructed, I don't necessarily think I would do the same again. So the whole idea was based around the figure and having the figure within, but not really noticing it. And yes, that's a good idea, and I still quite like the idea based around Picasso. So he links in the different people, the different bodies, the heads that you can only just see in looking at it. But I feel like here it's just lost within the stripes and within the patterns in the background. And it is, the photos don't do it justice. In real life it is better, but again, I feel like if I was to do it again, I would make the structure stronger and stand out more, as it does do what I want, and it does enhance the patterns. You can see the figure in person, not so much on the photos, but maybe I would use one of the other metals, one of the more structured metals, so it's a physical structured shape rather than the distressed bendy wire, which I did like the look of, and I still stand by choosing that one for the reason that it links more to the depression than the other wires, as the other wires were more strong and stable and constructed, whereas this one was more distressed and more malleable, so you could bend it and you could weave it, and it does look good, but I would go against it and choose maybe a different wire to enhance the visual of the figure, even if it is still just a figure or a silhouette, just as I feel that the visual is not ruined, but it doesn't enhance the visual, which is what I wanted the figure for in the first place. Okay. While putting up my exhibition, I did come across a few slight issues, nothing too major. There was a couple of samples that I made. So here there's I removed the sides of the panels just to enhance the fact that it took the bars and the blackness kind of framed it, and it took away. Now without, it looks freer and it looks better than with, as it looks contained there. So yeah, it also meant that it could flow out and be contained without having the bars around it and without sticking to one place. If I was to do the making again, I would make so many more samples and test pieces, not test pieces, like pieces that I could possibly use, because I don't think I realised how much fabric and paper that I would need. So the amount of samples and bits of material I covered in marks and used, I then had to go back and create more, as it didn't have enough to fulfill the vision that I had, which was layered and which was working with all the other fabrics and flowing. Using a lesser amount of fabric, it made it look choppy, it made it look tight, it made it look more together. So I then had to go back and I revamp up some more marks just to keep the flowing and the vision and the look of the design how I would want it. But I do like how it's turned out. So yeah, that's the end of my evaluation. I hope you've enjoyed my voice through the past 12 videos. So yeah.